Hola. We're talking today about preterite of IR stem-changing verbs. ¿Recuerdas? Do you remember? You know that stem changes in the present tense. Remember the present tense means you're stressing the first syllable. They take place in all forms except the nosotros and vosotros. And the reason they don't take place in nosotros and vosotros is because with those you're not stressing that same vowel. And so it doesn't split. When you stress the E or an O, sometimes the E or the O will split into two letters, and sometimes it just changes to another letter, like from an E to an I, for example. So let's look at preferir, to prefer. To say I prefer, you put the stress on the second to last syllable, and so it splits the E to IE. And this goes for any time you do that. It could be the yo form, tú, usted, él, ella, and the plural ustedes, ellos, ellas forms. So prefiero. Prefiero is I prefer. For pedir, the same thing happens here. With pedimos, there's no change because it's nosotros, so you're not stressing the second, well, you're stressing the second to last syllable, but you're not stressing the E on it. That E, when stressed, right there, the E changes to I when it's stressed. In pedimos, the E is not stressed. It's just pedimos. Now, what about I ask? Well, now you're going to stress the E. Pido. It becomes pido. And dormir. The O becomes a UE when it gets the stress. So, in the nosotros forms, it's not changing. It's dormimos. However, for los hermanos, right, that's ellos, duermen. Duermen. They sleep. And so the O has changed to UE because it's split. It gets the stress. In the preterite IR forms, IR verbs like preferir, pedir, and dormir also have stem changes, but only in the usted, él, ella, and the ustedes, ellos, ellas forms. In these forms, the E changes to I, O changes to U. And you just have to memorize these. For example, for dormir, mi mamá se aburrió, right? My mom became bored. Y se durmió. Durante la película, she fell asleep during the movie. Se durmió, right? The O has changed to a U in the preterite. And remember, it's only for usted, él, ella, and the ustedes, ellos, ellas forms, which is good because they are just the singular and the plural of the third person. Now, moving on to preferir. For preferir, the E changes to I, right? That becomes mis padres prefirieron. All right. Usually the I would change to an IE, right, in the present tense. Prefieren, right? But for the past tense, it just changes to an I. There's only one letter it changes to. So, prefirieron. Mis padres prefirieron ver el concurso de belleza. My parents preferred to watch the beauty contest. Okay. En la liga, compitieron. That's competir works a lot like pedir. Also repetir. So anything that conjugates like pedir is going to follow this pattern too. So en la liga compitieron. Los mejores equipos de México. In the league, the best teams of Mexico competed. The best teams of Mexico competed in the league. Along with this, pedir will go as well. So you can say they asked, which is pidieron, or they repeated, repitieron. So here are the preterite forms. Preferir, so it goes to preferi for yo, preferi, I preferred, and preferiste. So there's no surprises here so far. But look what happens in the third person. You get prefirió. Prefirió. You get that I in there. Prefirió. So you can see there's a difference between these other two. And we're going to see that pattern come again. We're going to see it again here in the third person plural. Preferimos is just normal. And then preferistes is the vosotros form that's only used in Spain. And prefirieron, there's your I again. Now with pedir, we have pedí, for your past tense. For yo pedí, I asked for. Pediste, so far so good, everything's normal. But in the third person, you get the E changes to an I. Pidió. Now, this doesn't happen to every verb. You just have to know which ones, which verbs to look out for. Pedimos, and then pedisteis is vosotros, and then you have pidieron again. So you can see clearly in this chart how those the two third person forms of the preterite tense, and these are all IR verbs, but they're all only some of the IR verbs, and not every IR verb does this. With dormir, you have dormí and dormiste, but third person is durmió. Durmió, not dormió, but durmió. And then dormimos and dormistes, and then again you have the change that happens. The same change happens. And a good thing about this is that O, if it's an O, is going to change to a U. If it changes at all, if there's a change there. And if it's an E, it'll change to an I. There's not like an O to UE or E to IE. It's just one vowel change, and that's it. Note the special spelling of the preterite forms of reír. Reí, reíste, rió. So again, you have that E to I change there. Reímos, reístes, and rieron. Your other IR verbs with stem changes in the preterite tense. Verbs that conjugate like preferir will be divertirse, to have fun. So he had fun would be él se divirtió, right? He had fun. Mentir, to lie. Mintió is he lied, she lied, or you lied. Sentirse, to feel. Sintió, se sintió mal, right? He felt bad. Verbs like pedir, to request, pedir. Competir, to compete. So compitió, for example, he competed. Despedirse is to say goodbye to somebody. Se despidió, and repetir is to repeat, of course. Repetir means to repeat, of course. And the past tense will work just like pedir. Repitió, repitieron. Seguir, like siguió, siguieron, in the past tense. Servir becomes sirvió, sirvieron. And vestirse, to get dressed, would be se vistió, se vistieron. He got dressed, she got dressed, etc. And se vistieron, se vistieron, they got dressed, you all got dressed, etc. And by the way, seguir means to follow, like segue. It's a segue into something. And servir, of course, means to serve. Verbs like dormir is morir, to die. The O of morir becomes a U in the past tense third person form of the preterite. So murió, murió, he died. Murieron, they died, etc. And verbs like reír, to laugh, or sonreír, to smile. So it's interesting that the word laugh and smile, the verbs are very close in that you're actually just adding a prefix onto reír. So sonrió is he or she smiled. Gracias.